And my soul cries out for him. My soul cries out for Jesus. Jesus is all I want. So I'm not trying to pump y'all. I don't need to pump y'all up. Y'all, if y'all don't want to praise him, that's on y'all. But I know how good he is. I know even when I make mistakes, his love and his grace covers me. Listen, I'm not here to prolong the time. Y'all can be seated. We can dive right into this. I just want y'all to know how much I love God. I don't know about how much y'all love God, but I know I love God. I know I be forgetting all the formalities and things like that. But to start off, I want to give honor to my mom and dad, pastor and first lady, Jesus Christ, the head of my life, all of you in the audience and the people viewing from the internet. I know I was talking to Zim. I told my dad as well. I never have a title, but the title for today is "What's Your Faith Story?" We in a faith ministry where faith is pretty much preached every Sunday, every Wednesday, even on the Friday night service. And I feel like the more you hear something, the more you should see the effects in your life, right? So, for example, I played basketball, right? I wanted to be great in basketball. We had practice, right? Every, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. During the week, we had games, so we wouldn't practice as hard. But the more I practiced, the better I got. I wasn't always good. I was a late bloomer, you could say. But I worked. See, this faith thing, you got to work it. If you're not working your faith, you're still at home because you're scared of corona. We can go to Hebrew 11.
Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
What do you hope for? What are the hopes that you have? What's the evidence of the things you hope for? See, God, this world was created just off of a word he spoke. Off of a word he spoke, he framed this world. Off of a word that he spoke, he framed your life. See, listen. You can put that back up for me, Zell? The substance, right? Evidence of things not seen. Just because it's relevant to today, how many of y'all seen Corona? But people scared of it, right? Listen, we scared of Corona and we don't even reverence God. You don't even fear your creator, but you scared of a sickness you can't even see. Oh man, go to the next verse for me, please.
For by it the elders obtained a good report.
What is it? What is it? It is your faith. It is your faith. Since it is your faith, they retained a good report. We have testimony service every Wednesday. Who be testifying? Where's your good report? So if there are no good reports, there is no faith. So if people aren't running up here testifying, what do you believe in? I promise you the Bible is so simple. It's so simple. The next verse.
Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear.
I just spoke about this. Literally, your life before you was even thought, before your parents thought about it, before everything, the Lord knew you, knew what you was gonna do, knew the plans for your life, knew what you was gonna be. Do you know you? See, and this is a little off topic, but to find out who you are, you have to spend time with God. If you're not spending time with God, you're lost. And I'm gonna give you a perfect example of people who are lost, right? You have the people who come to church. They're not doing nothing in church. They're just sitting down. Everybody in here has a purpose. Your purpose is not just to come to church and sit down. Listen, and I understand that there are different offices in church and stuff like that. Some of y'all purpose might not be to be an usher, to be a minister. Some of your purpose might be to be a giver, to be a worshiper. But you're not spending time, so you don't know your purpose. We can continue.
By faith, Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God had translated him. For before his translation, he had this testimony, that he pleased God.
Why was that his testimony? His testimony was that he pleased God. His faith pleased God. Faith is the only thing that can please God. Through his faith, God was so pleased with him that God just said, come on. God just took him on up. Listen, all you have to do is believe. And the thing that holds everybody back is fear. But God is not giving us a spirit of fear, but so you know that, but what is the, okay, is it Acts 23, I think? Acts 23, Acts 22, where it talks about Paul, when he was, the ship broke and he was getting firewood. We don't have to turn there. I just want y'all to hear it. So he was getting wood for the fire, putting wood in the fire, and a viper latched onto his hand, right? A viper latched onto his hand, right? He was supposed to die in seconds. In seconds. The people looked around and was waiting for him to die. You know what he did? Get off of me. It's some things you got to shake off. But you can't shake things off if you're scared of everything. See, listen, I'm sure it wasn't even a second thought that he was like, snake bit, he was probably, get up off me, putting wood back in the fire. See, it's things that your mind has too much control. You put too much thought on things that don't deserve it. Those who keep their mind stayed upon Jesus, he'll keep your mind in perfect peace. So if your mind is on Jesus, you don't have time for fear. Your mind is in perfect peace.
But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him.
Leave that up there for a second for me. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. It is impossible to please him without faith. We'll talk about this too. Since I'm up here, I might as well. What kills your faith? Unbelief? Doubt? Fear? Sin. Sin. The biggest faith killer is your sin. You want to know why? Because when you sin, you start feeling guilty. And when you feeling guilty, you was sitting on the front row, you done moved to the second row, you done moved to the third row. Next thing you know, you out the church. You're not even coming no more because you feeling guilty. Listen. Everything you've done, God has already died for. I understand that feeling of guilt, but you repent and you keep on pushing. Don't let your sin keep you out of heaven. You can continue.
By faith, Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house.
Hold on right there. By faith, Noah being warned. What was Noah? He used to indulge in what? He drunk, right? My man was a drinker. Is that not a sin? So he drunk, but his ears were still. So even though he was sinning, his ear was still open to what God had for him. You can continue.
Prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith.
So you telling me that even if I'm messing up and my faith is still strong, I can obtain my reward and my righteousness? A couple verses before, it was just talking about how you obtain the reward through your faith. I need to see some rewards in here. You can continue.
By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed and went out, not knowing whither he went.
He went out not knowing where he was going, but listening and being obedient to the word of God. That's faith. There was nothing visual where he could see like, oh, I know this is my promised land. But he listened to the promise of God. The promise of God to take you farther than your vision will take you. I'm getting excited. I'm about to get ahead of myself. So I'm going to just let you continue to read.
By faith, he sojourned in the land of promise as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which had foundations, whose builder and maker is God.
God is the builder and the maker of your foundation. Listen, if your foundation is not in God, you're not standing strong. Do you see the world right now? They're in panic. Some of the church is in panic. So that lets you know everybody's foundation ain't in God. The Bible tells us to be in the world, but not. So whatever the world going through, we shouldn't feel it. But you know when you do feel it, when you out of faith. I pray that God increase everybody's measure of faith today. That's one prayer that I send up for everybody in here. Yeah.
Through faith, also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed and was delivered of a child when she was past age because she judged him faithful who had promised.
All right. So, through her faith, she received physical strength to deliver a baby. There's so many ways. Listen, it's a lot of y'all dealing with some tough situations, but God can give you physical strength, mental strength to get through your situation. It says God will never give us more than we can bear because he give us strength to get through it. It ain't nothing we can't bear because he give us strength.
Therefore sprang there even of one as him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth.
Stop. So, God promised him something that he died, and then he get to see, the end of it, right? So, there are promises that God has given you that aren't just for you, but are for the generations after you. See, it's a lot of generational curses that has to be broken off your family, and it's going to come through you. So you might not see all the stuff that you're going through and how you done overcame these battles, but the fruits of your labor will be seen by the generations to come after you. The struggles you go through, and a lot of the struggles we all go through are financially. And a lot of it is because we don't spend our money how we supposed to. That's what it was. But anyways, once God breaks that generational curse of lack, of poverty off your life, and the thing is, see, I don't need an amen, and I don't care about that. My amen come from Jesus, so I don't care if somebody's saying amen or if somebody clap for me, because that doesn't matter to me one way or the other. But I want to see everybody accept and receive the promises that God has for them. A lot of the times we receive these promises or these prophecies, which are pretty much the promises coming from God. And we be happy, for that time being, but you got to hold on to that thing. You got to speak over that thing. You got to thank God. Why did God want me to tell y'all to praise him to that song? Because praise gets you out of things. I can say one thing. I do agree that we have some pretty good worshipers in here. But when it comes to the praise part, I feel like we lacking a little bit. When the last time you had a good shout? joy of the Lord is our strength.
For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is, and heavenly. Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he has prepared for them a city.
So, for those who believe, what is prepared for them? A city. What's prepared for them who don't believe? I promise you, this concept is so simple. All you have to do is believe. Believe. What stops us from believing? The trials of life? Sin? He's already overcame all of these things, though. So to me, when I hear the trials of life, sin, those are excuses. If you're telling me he died for all my sins, that's an excuse. So what's stopping me from really believing? Don't get me wrong, faith is hard. Because you got to be willing to give up everything you know. Because we were all taught to get a job. So if a man don't work, he don't eat. If it depended on my job, I wouldn't be eating at all. You can continue.
By faith, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son.
Okay. Abraham, what was Isaac? Isaac was promised, right? He was promised, his promised seed that God told him he was gonna give him, right? So he was willing to give his promise back to Jesus. How many of you, first of all, how many of you have grabbed your promise, have received your promise? And then after that, how many of you willing to give your promise back to Jesus? See, you need it, right? But through his need, you don't think he needed? You don't think he needed his son? Through his need, or through his son, that was a ram. For him being obedient and be willing to give back, it's the same thing. You tell stories all the time about how Anthony calls you, when he has, business deals, and he listens. It's the same concept. Being willing and obedient.
Of whom it was said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Accounting that God was able to raise him up, even.
You can pause right there. Right there. So even though he was willing to give up his seed, he knew, give up his promise. I'm going to refer to it as his promise. He was willing to give up his promise. He knew that God would raise his promise back up. It's things that we aren't getting because we're not willing to let certain things go. I feel like the most common thing that we all have is money. A lot of times we're not willing to let money go. But a lot of times the money that we're not willing to let go can't do nothing for us no way. when you get taxed by the government, how much they take from you? And what does God require? 10%. 10% of a $10 bill is $1. 10% of a $100 bill is $10. So you telling me out of that 100, you can't live off of that 90? He's letting you keep the rest of that 90%. He only asked for 10. And that 10% covers you, covers your family, protects you from sickness. And a lot of time we wonder why we getting sick. And it's an art to it, right? And this is how I feel about it. I feel like if you're not going to get your 10% happily, keep it. Because even if you're doing it and you're not doing it with a good spirit, you're still not going to reap the benefits of it. You can continue. It's always fun. Listen, before I keep going, Nick always be talking to me about how I be beating y'all up, man. You don't understand. It be beating me up when I be reading it. It beat me up, then he be like, go ahead and beat them up. So I'm just the messenger, right? I'm just the messenger. Go ahead.
Accounting that God was able to raise him up, even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. By faith Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. By faith, Jacob, when he was a dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph and worshiped, leaning on the top of his staff.
Real quick, the most common thing that we're seeing right now is the by faith. By faith. By faith. What is your by faith? Your life is a Bible for somebody. Not everybody we know is going to read Genesis to Revelations. You, they Genesis to Revelation, right? What is your by faith? What are they seeing in you that's like, man, it's something different about that person. Man, we out here panicking and they still calm about the situation. We walk, what is the motto of the church? Walk by faith and not by sight? That's our church motto. But what is your by faith? When people talk to you, what story can you tell them about God brought me out of this by faith? Because stories like that is what bring people to church.
By faith, Joseph, when he was dead, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel and gave commandment concerning his bones. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandment.
So, the Moses story is usually about, Moses and, how he brought the children of Israel, out of Egypt. And nobody ever talks about how his parents believed. Nobody ever says that his parents had faith and believed. They believed that they was going to put their little son in the little basket and send him on, and wasn't nothing going to happen to him. And he was going to grow up to, become a man. Do you know the risk of putting I'm pretty sure that the animals we have now is different back then. They probably had some way different animals back then. So you sending this little baby in this water. You don't know what's all in there. You don't even know if he's going to get caught before he gets to the desert. You don't even know that even when he get to, was it Pharaoh's daughter, that she's going to receive him. But their faith was strong enough that they believed that we're going to send him on and he's going to do what he got to do. Nobody ever mentions the faith of Moses' parents. You can continue.
By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter.
Do you refuse to be called Pharaoh's son, Pharaoh's daughter? Are you cool? You cool with that name? Because me, see, there's a Pharaoh system and there's a God system. And I don't, because all of these, every one of these stories named have been really good. Like I love the Bible stories. But even in Pharaoh's system, right? When all the plagues and stuff were happening, and you know, Noah had the staff, and they turned his staff into a snake, right? And then, you know, Pharaoh's people, I don't know what they were, I don't care about them, but they turned theirs into a snake. And then what happened to their snakes? They got ate up. All right. In God's system, it don't matter about whatever going on over there. God told them to put the blood over the door, right? He put the blood over the door. The Passover happened. They kids were safe, right? Who kids wasn't safe? I'm telling you to plead the blood over your life. You and your kids safe. We in the world, but not of the world. You know what? I might want that to be my title. We're gonna change that real quick. We in the world, but we not of it, right? Because we on a different playing field. The way you believe is the way things happen for you. The words that come out of your mouth frame the things that happen in your life. So why not wake up every morning and say, today gonna be a great day? You look outside, man, today an ugly day, it's raining. You know, I'm tired. God, I thank you for this day. It may be raining outside, but it's joy on the inside of me today. Y'all don't hear me. Y'all don't. Everything that is designed was designed by God, right? Sunshine was designed by God. Rain was designed by God. So when it rained, do you think God would be like, oh, it's an ugly day, it's raining? No, it's pretty. I made it rain. The world needed some water. I gave y'all some water. And apparently Georgia been needing a lot of it. But every day is a great day. Every day is a blessing. Every day is an opportunity to witness to somebody.
Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season.
He chose to suffer with his people, knowing that the suffering was only temporary. It wasn't going to last forever. But knowing that also if he would have stayed, that the pleasure was only temporary. It wasn't going to last forever. Do you not see how the roles swapped? They were living good in Pharaoh's system, right? Had all the money, everything that they needed, they had it, right? They were slaves over on this side. They wasn't living as well. God took and flocked it. To me, I love reading about those stories because I feel like it relates to us today. When it talks about how they wandered around in the wilderness because they couldn't receive the promise, it reminds me how we be wandering around because we can't enter into our promised land because we don't want to receive the promise. I'll tell you one thing, God, you ain't got to worry about me dying out. I'm going to get mine. I love the story of Moses, man.
scripture. Esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing.
You can stop right there. I like that. I like that. That's perfect. By faith, he forsook Pharaoh,
Not fearing.
not fearing, not fearing, not. What stops us from leaving our jobs and living by faith? Not fearing. Not fearing. What's your not fearing? What are you scared of right now? I told you, it's hard. It's hard to live by faith because you don't know where it's coming from. You don't know when it's coming. But it's coming. Listen, this ain't even my testimony, but I'm gonna start because it's still in the works, but I'm gonna start it off right now. So, one of my friends dealing with a situation, right? And a lot of my friends, they come to me whenever they're dealing with something, and they ask, Josh, pray about this, whatever. I pray about it. I tell them, I feel peace. If I feel peace, if I don't, I'll be like, So, I prayed about the situation. I felt peaceful about it. I told the person, I'm peaceful about it. So, eventually, their car get taken from them, right? They panicking. They in the panic. Me, I'm like, I feel peace. So we go talk to the people who took the car, right? They tell her that she can get her car back for between either her car or a better car at an auction for $500 to $1,000. That's a car that was giving you issues where you can now upgrade to a better car and it be yours. You don't have to make no. You don't know how it's coming. You don't know when it's coming, but it's coming.
Not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. Through faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them. By faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which was the Egyptians essaying to do were drowned.
So, right quick, what was the difference in them and the Egyptians? Faith. So, I was thinking about this when I was reading through this. I was like, so if the Egyptians would have believed, would they have made it through too? Because I ask myself questions like that and ask God questions when I be reading through the Bible. But they didn't believe. So the water wiped them out. You can continue.
By faith, the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days.
This is another story that I love. The walls of Jericho fell down. For them walls to fall down, there were instructions, right? God always gives us instructions. He lets us know what we need to do, how we need to do it. Sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't, depending on the person and what they trying to get. But Joshua was obedient to what God wanted him to do. And I love it, that book too, because it was failures in there as well. When, the whole thing with AI and all that and how they went to war and they ended up losing because they weren't obedient. But this time they were obedient and they praised. And they praise made a change. They praise brought the walls down. Everybody got a job. Some of us are praising. Some of us got to come in here and act a fool. to break the walls and them chains that's been holding your people back. But if you're not doing it, it ain't gonna never be broke. It's all about accepting your role. We all have a role in the kingdom. You continue.
By faith the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace.
I told you, it's so many good stories. I just love the Bible, right? So, through her obedience, she wasn't in this. She wasn't walking with them. She didn't know how they moved. She didn't know how they operated. But when they showed up, she believed. To me, it amazes me because it's sometimes I witness to people who are Christians, and it's like they can't believe for this stuff. But I go tell my friend who been smoking weed, and I'm talking to him, and he like, bro, that work? Okay, I'm down with that. It's simple for them to believe, but it's hard. I promise you, it'd be so backwards sometimes. So, she believed, and through her belief, she didn't have a lot of time. She had to make a decision right there. Through her being obedient, she saved her whole family. Sometimes your obedience will save your whole family. I heard it all the time out there. All the time. Your obedience. You can continue.
And what shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon, and of Barak, and of Samson, and of Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of the weakness were made strong, waxed violent in fight, turned to flight the enemies of the aliens.
All right, I'm going to give you a break right now. So, you telling me through their faith, that's all that they did. They were able to walk through fire, to stop lions. Some of y'all be running from dogs. So all of these great things they did, are they not bigger than your little problems? Have you ever walked through a fire where, let me rephrase that. Have they ever tied you up and threw you in a fire with intent to kill you? What's your biggest issue? Look how little your biggest issue is compared to the things they went through. And is God not the same God? So you telling me the same God that did all that for them can't bring me out of my little situation? Can't manifest money in my life? It's the same God. To me, we have more than what they had, but they have more than what we had. If you get that. So they had way more Jesus and more faith and more belief than what we have, but we living a lot nicer than what they was living, right? So is it because that we think we live so well that we don't have to believe? I'm just trying to find out why we think the way we think and why we can't believe how they believe. It was a decree made, it was Daniel, right? Where he couldn't pray. So they made a decree because some people was plotting and hating. You always got haters. That's everywhere you go. If people ain't hating, you ain't really doing nothing, right? So they made a decree, went to the king, gave the king the decree. He was like, you know what, I'm the king, I'm gonna pass this, whatever. He didn't know that they was plotting on his homie, because he loved Daniel. That was his boy. So my boy was still praying. And what's crazy? He wasn't hiding it. He wasn't hiding it. If I remember correctly, I think he was opening up his window and letting it be seen. Let it be a decree that you can't pray. We don't even need a decree. Let it be coronavirus. You know what? The people are, corona spreading like crazy. We're going to close down the church. What? To me, like I said, their belief was so strong in Jesus that it didn't matter what the situation was. They wasn't shook. That's the type of faith I want. I want the faith that don't shake. I want the faith where something latch onto my hand, I shake it off. The mustard seed to move a mountain. Lord, give us the mustard seed faith. You know what? I want even more than that. Y'all know what a pumpkin seed look like? Give me that pumpkin seed faith. I just want to live how they live. To me, it's amazing to read these stories and just hear how they believed in the situations they walked through. Like I said, we're somebody's Bible. I want people to be like, man, that's what he did? Oh, he rose somebody from the dead? That's what he did? Oh, he believed God for the impossible? That's what... Maybe that's just me, but I want to believe for the impossible. I want miracles to start back. When the last time we heard of a miracle? When the last time somebody was blind and their eyes open? That's the type of faith I want. Listen, that's not designed for everybody because everybody can't believe like that.
Women received their dead raised to life again, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance that they might obtain a better resurrection.
Stop right there. This is another thing. People were tortured for their belief. We get this word freely. We've never been beaten because we believe in Jesus. It's not stuff overseas and stuff that I done heard about where they be going through some persecution, but in America, I've never been persecuted for believing in Jesus, right? They were willing to die. They were willing to die believing that God would They were willing to die for this gospel. We get a little sick. We get the weather it's not sunny today. It's places where they have to walk to go to church. We drive here in nice cars. Does this not make you mad at yourself? For me, it makes me mad at myself for things that I allow to come in my life and I don't cast it down right away. Maybe it's just me. I get mad at the little things. I might get a little sick, and I'm like, man, Lord, take this away from me. I pay my tithes. I do what I'm supposed to do. Why am I sick? I get mad at stuff like that. Maybe it's just me. Maybe some of y'all like being sick. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. You can keep going.
And others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover, of bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, were tempted, were slain with a sword. They wandered about in sheepskin and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, and tormented.
For this gospel. This is what they went through for this gospel. What are you willing to go through for this gospel? If anything, I owe my life to God. He was beaten for me. They spit on him. They talked about him. And just imagine the same people who you were just speaking, great things into their life, who you was just healing, they were supposed to be your people, right? They were all following me everywhere I went. Now they talking about me. Now they saying, crucify him. Crucify. But I'm not willing to give my life up for him, right?
Of whom the world was not worthy.
You can stop. The world wasn't even worthy of him. The world didn't even deserve that man. But Jesus gave a piece of himself, put it in flesh form, walked around here, did nothing wrong, was the perfect example, was tempted in every way we are tempted, didn't fall into it. This is amazing to me. Like, I might be over-exaggerating, but when I think about all the things he went through and all the times he was tempted and how they beat him and how he was crucified for me, maybe it's because I make it personal. I'm like, dang, man, you did this just for me? You can keep going.
They wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise.
All that. What stopped them from receiving their promise? Keep going.
God having provided some better things for us, that they without us should not be made perfect.
So without us, without you, the people around you aren't made perfect. So through you, people will be made perfect. Through your faith, through your story, people will be made perfect. God is good, y'all. I think you said that was it? That was the last one? That was the last one? All right, well, go ahead and give God a hand clap.